Hello, good morning. So, yes, I am still setting up slightly. Last night my computer decided that it didn't want to have the downloads folder in it anymore, so I had to do a complete wipe of my computer and reset it completely down to factory. I am so glad I don't delete the footage from my camera until it's been uploaded onto YouTube, otherwise I would be out months of work. Yeah, that would not be fun. But today is I'm recording the opening for the second part of this Making a Faire project. I am making a white wool dress suit. I'm calling this a dress suit because instead of just a skirt, I am making a dress with a blazer over top of it. The pattern I am using is Vogue's 9052. It is a 1949 reprint pattern. It's a really pretty dress. I really love it. If you can't tell from my last video. It is a short-sleeve dress with a top stitching detail around the yoke, around the collar, and around the waistline. It does come with a belt pattern, but I will be doing that for my Christmas Vlogmas series as a gift idea. It's got a slit that is 6 inches now, maybe 6.5, from the base of my collarbone. Let's see. The materials I used was horsehair interfacing for around the collar, as well as white wool that I got for $10 a yard. It was a local person selling their scrap from when they were doing other projects, and so I got it for $10 a yard, which is $80 for 8 yards, which is for 100% wool pretty cheap. Only downside, it's like a creamy white. It's a natural color for wool, but hey, can't have everything. It's not black, but hey, it's wool. I will say that this dress pattern is a very easy dress pattern. The skirt does have some bias to it, however, it does not droop out because of how the skirt is assembled. It is an A-line skirt, so it fits well. This dress pattern can easily be altered. There is 2 front darts, one for the bust and one for the waist. There are 2 back darts, one for the shoulder and one for the waist. It is a short sleeve pattern, but again, you can switch that out for another style of pattern. If you're doing it something like cotton, I'd recommend like a 3/4 or a full length sleeve or even a bracelet sleeve. This is an easy pattern to work with, is what I'm getting at. Overall, this part of the project took me probably 2 or 3 days because I did a lot of hand finishing and I wanted to make it look nice. Cost-wise, the dress is made up of several yards. I'm trying to think. I think it's 3 yards of material, so that's $30. The horsehair canvas I had left over, so $30. $5 for the zipper, and then $3 for thread. So that's probably about $38 for this dress. If you know anything about wool dresses, that's pretty cheap. Altogether, $38 is pretty cheap for a nice wool dress. Now, wearing this, I will probably try and save this for more formal occasions, like where I won't have as much spillage or stainage, because this is a white wool. This wool is going to be a dry clean only. I'm not going to be able to wash it in the house, so I will probably do my best to only wear this for special occasions. Overall, I think this part of the project went really well. I am glad I made the mock-up because adding the 1 inch to the waist really made it a lot easier to do up the side zip, and I am less worried about straining those seams. So if this was helpful for you, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I am trying to grow this channel, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye. So I forgot to record doing the darts, but I'm pretty sure you know how to do the darts. If you don't, I would go to someone else's channel, like the Closet Historian, or I'm not sure who else has explained darts, but I forgot to record darts, so there is that. But here I am just pinning, getting ready to sew up the shoulder darts, shoulder seams, as well as the side seams. One of these side seams you are supposed to leave open for a side zip. I will say this dress would be super easy to switch to a back zipper if that is your preferred closure method. All you would have to do is take this back piece off of the fold and make sure to add seam allowance to the back part. And the dress would be flipped over to a side back zipper instead of a side zipper. The skirt is already in 4 pieces, so there would be the slot for doing the zipper in. Overall though, I like having the side zipper in this style of dress. It makes it look more like a professional piece as opposed to a homemade piece. Here I am getting ready to prepare this front facing to make the yoke appear. I will say that I would choose a different finishing method as opposed to the one I ended up doing. If I would redo this, I had tried to bind all these edges with a thin twill tape. Next time I do this, I will not try to do that because it did not turn out well. I will probably just overcast these edges when I sew down the interfacing. I will say using the horsehair interfacing in this was relatively easy. It was easier than I expected, but it is still a rather scratchy piece. You know if it gets flipped out on any part of your skin. I will say also on this pattern, you only need to interface this front section because that is where you are slicing open and making the neckline a little more interesting. You do not have to interface the back facing. That is just turned under and tacked at the shoulder seams. So here I am getting ready to sew that in, and I will say this is a very difficult getting under my sewing machine at this point. And here I was realizing, oh yeah, I need to turn this so it's right sides to right sides. So used to sewing French seams at this time, but I did not sew French seams on this. So here I am pinning the front part, and then I pin around the collar so that it won't wiggle on me. And then I flatten out the bodice by basically flicking out the shoulder seams and laying it flat, and then pin down this front section so it doesn't warp and twist. I think it worked. At least from my perspective anyway. And then you just sew around the collar and then sew down those guidelines that I drew guidelines. Some people don't, but I did. And then I also marked up that 1/2 inch that I had mentioned in the last video so that my camisole won't be like on full display. If anything, it'll just like peek over the edge, making it a little more tantalizing, but not showing the whole top edge piece. See, here I am laying down that facing so it, relatively works. So that I can make sure it lays down nicely. Once I've sewn that, I will, as you can see, slice down the center, stopping 1/4 inch away from the edge, and then clipping into those corners without cutting through the threads. That's kind of important. I would have had just enough to recut this bodice, but I kind of didn't want to have to. So then I clip the corners, and I will clip these curves. Here I am just turning out those corners so I can see where it should go. And then, instead of understitching, they call you to top stitch, which can look really nice if you can keep a straight line. I top stitch about 3/4 to 3/8 to a 1/4 inch away from the edge. I think it turned out relatively nice. It may not be your cup of tea. You may want to understitch this part. Just keep in mind that in the pattern and on the instructions, it shows top stitching. So here I am now prepping the sleeves. I will sew the side seam up with the given seam allowance, which is 5/8 of an inch, and then I will sew a 1/4 of an inch at the bottom of the hem, and then turn it up an inch and hand sew with small whip stitches the seam allowance, so that it would be a finished sleeve before I attach it to the, as you see, bodice itself. Here's where I differed from the instructions. I found attaching the sleeves before attaching the skirt made it easier for me to attach them. They aren't super long, so they don't get in the way of getting the zipper installed. And I didn't want to fuss around with the skirt while trying to get the sleeves in. Basically, I said I will do sleeves now before skirt and zipper because I did not want to have to fuss with getting these in. I can understand why they wanted you to do the zipper first, because that way the sleeves aren't getting in the way of that, but I had already decided I was going to hand stitch in the zipper anyway, so I would have more control. Once I've set in these sleeves, I will then do the skirt. Now, I already have the skirt pieces hanging up on my mannequin at this point. I've had them hanging up for an entire day. So I will then take these skirt pieces and lay them back together and lay the pattern piece over them and then trim off any excess that there is. On this one, there is no excess. It's like cut in such a way that there's barely any like focused bias, so it all lays nicely together. So I will just sew up these, and then I turn them in a 1/4 of an inch so that the raw edges are kind of sandwiched, and then I whip stitch around the edge of the arm side before pressing it so that the arm for that seam allowance is basically shoved into the sleeve. I do this because it's an easy way for me to finish it, as well as not having to do that second line of stitching, which is kind of a pain in the ass for me. It also, on looser fabrics, makes it so all the raw edges are tucked in and everything is secure. So here I am getting ready to sew up the front seam, and then I will sew up the back seam, and then I will sew the skirt together while leaving space for the side zipper. I did not insert pockets into this dress itself or any of the other pieces into this because I have already plotted on making a purse to go with this, and really for this silhouette with how close the skirt is to the hips, it makes it kind of obvious if you put in pockets. I will try it on the next version I do, whenever I end up doing that. It may be next spring, but I will put in a pocket at some point to one of these dresses. Like I said, I really like this pattern. I really like how it fits. I really like how it looks, so I will be doing other ones of this variety. But yes, once I've sewn up the skirt pieces, I will then be attaching the bodice to the skirt and hemming it all before I put in the zipper, because I am doing the zipper by hand. And once I have done the hem and the zipper, the dress will be done. It is, like I said, this is basically a one-day make if you hang up the skirt pieces before you start sewing it. Otherwise, it is just kind of a process. Apologies, my cat was trying to steal my dinner. She thinks salmon smells really good and she wants more. Greedy kitty. So that red dot you see on the fabric is where the zipper will close. So I am just matching up the notches so that I can wiggle the fabric around, because this is a wool and it has quite a bit of give. But I have already on the other side left the opening for the zipper so that it all work out. This is an A-line skirt, so there is no darts at the waist. And there is no pleating, and this is just a really simple, nice dress that is such a nice change from pleating, gathering, all that jazz. Of course, my next, like, 4 projects I'm planning are gathering and pleating, and yeah, I hate myself sometimes, but I love my projects, so that all works out, I think. Anyway, here I am just working my way through this skirt. This skirt is sewn twice, so 5/8 seam allowance, and then a 1/4 inch in from that, still on the same seam allowance, and then you flip it so the skirt is, you know, hanging the right way, and then you will top stitch the seam allowance to the bodice. All my top stitching I did with machine silk thread so that it will lay relatively nicely. But yes, so that is a very nice step. I think it makes it it gives it a little bit of detail without being too distracting. This is a great work dress. If you work anywhere that you can wear skirts or dresses, this would be a great pattern to sew, because it allows you to the skirt isn't constricting and the waistline sits nicely, as you will see in a moment. This dress pattern does come with a belt. I will go over that later this year. Here is the finished dress. I am glad I added the 1 inch to my waist, because that just makes it fit well overall. The hemline lays nicely. It is all relatively level. I really like how this dress turned out. It is probably one of my favorite pieces. Even if it is a mood. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all have are having a good summer, and I will see you all next week for the jacket. Bye.